All right, we are recording, and this is the virtual Salesianum professional learning experience, and it's going to be quite an experience. As I said, I'm completely new to training people on Zoom. I'm kind of learning on the fly, so this should be quite fun. Please use the chat, use all the functions that I've enabled. I'm going to hopefully also have time for breakout rooms, which again should be quite fun, just like Gaudi last week. All right, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and please, the first check for understanding, please click the yes button if you can see my virtual Salesianum slides. So I see a lot of faces looking for that yes. Just a reminder, it is on the participants screen just below all the participants. So it should start yes, no, and all that. I'm going to go ahead and get rocking and rolling here. So a few key pieces of housekeeping. I've muted everyone right now. I'm going to try to run through the slides as quickly as possible, stopping periodically, but really then open it up to answer questions and then really have a free-flowing question and answer session. This is being recorded currently, and the recording, I'm hoping I'll be able to get up to on campus one way, shape, or form. I'm just a bit concerned about the length of it. All resources, this slideshow, a Zoom playlist I've created, and hopefully this video will be on the virtual Salesianum resource board. Two of the three things are already up there, so feel free to check that out. Just a bit of how to get there. Once you're logged in on campus, click resources, and you'll see the upper left is virtual Salesianum for faculty and staff. Your students also have one, but we are going to go ahead and just so you can see here, if we scroll down, there are helpful links. I added this Penn article. Shout out to, I don't know if you guys know, but Beretta went to Penn. Julianne and I have been building samples, some of those great lessons. I know we highlighted Becca, who's attending right now. And actually, to give Becca even more props, 3 videos she created, as well as a Call to Pedagogy article that came out yesterday from Bill Sutherland. Great resources to provide to you. A quick bit about troubleshooting. Some students have had trouble. They see this as well, but please feel free to direct them to remind them of the steps to turn work in via on campus. And lastly, the things I'm promising you, this exact slideshow and a Zoom EDU playlist. So with that said, I'm going to try to fly right through. So our goals today are to try to get the most out of Zoom. If I can even give you one kernel of knowledge, that would be a win for me. To tackle video recording, I think this is such a big topic in education, but I want to kind of give us a baseline that we can establish so that we're all on level playing field moving forward. And then open time, of course, for question and answer. So within the Zoom section, I plan to go through settings, scheduling a meeting, hosting a meeting, recording, breakout rooms, in-meeting feedback, and any other tips and tricks that I might crowdsource from you. Just a general note about the format of these slides. You'll see every slide looks the same, what I'm talking about, some things I've tried to pull out, and a YouTube video straight from Zoom's playlist. I've embedded the playlist, and I've plucked the YouTube videos that are specific to this. The reason for doing so is these YouTube videos through the Zoom channel do a great job of really highlighting just that feature. They're typically between 30 seconds to a minute rather than a lengthy one like undoubtedly this is going to be. So instead of talking through my slides, sorry about that, I'm actually going to go to Zoom and we're going to look at some of the settings. So this should be a fun adventure here. So go to zoom.us, and then once we're in, we're actually going to click on My Account, and you'll all recognize this page. We're actually going to go to settings, and I, as an administrator of Salesianum Zoom account, have configured these to be on in some cases, like breakout rooms is a great example, as well as nonverbal feedback. And then also your personal account, you have the option to configure your own settings within this platform here. I'm only going to highlight a handful because, again, I want us to be on a baseline and then allow you to customize as you see fit. So one thing you'll notice about this one, I allowed you to join before host. We're all adults. I wasn't fearful of 2 students in a room without me, even though it's my room. That's what that enables, is attendees to join before I start the meeting. I'm asking that everybody use their personal meeting ID when scheduling meetings. This is on that sheet that Kim Kogenauer did an excellent job of putting together, but this also enables us to work with students and also to troubleshoot any issues and pop in and say hi here and there. What I am encouraging with this is to include a password. Many of you have probably read about either the Times article this week about privacy and security with Zoom, or the phenomenon of Zoom bombing. A local grade school fell victim to this as well. You can protect yourself against those 2 things just by password protecting your meeting and only storing it in on campus. Another setting I want to talk about, I have this on right now. What this means is that people need to sign in to our account, meaning they have to use an @salesianum.org email to access the meeting if this is turned on. Many students have not created Zoom accounts, so if it's a student meeting like office hours, I'd encourage you to leave that off, but password protect the meeting. I turned that on, so you'll see you had to sign in. Sign in to Zoom, and I can edit this to do different things with that. Enable the password, and then you can change the password above as well. A couple other things. The chat section I've kept on. Undoubtedly, we're going to use the chat during this session. What I encourage turning off is private chatting. That would allow your students to send a message just to another student without you seeing that. Please turn that off when running office hours or student-centric meetings like chapter. But undoubtedly, I've kept that on for you for this meeting. This is our best friend when running office hours. Play a sound when people come in. Heard by the host only, it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. And then lastly, you can turn on co-hosting, polling, screen sharing, and my favorite is breakout rooms down here. So with that said, I went through some of these. I'm going to go ahead and kind of pop back in the chat just to kind of see where we are. I know the chat's been blowing up. I like when random people show up. Awesome. All right, so what is Zoom bombing? Awesome. So Zoom bombing, Maria, and I see a little bit of people here. Jack Kaloje's example is, or definition is perfect. Uninvited people breaking into room meetings. What that entails is people say, join a meeting. Anyone has Zoom. They click join a meeting and they type in a random number and it gets them in the room. They're there to do malicious things. 2 schools in Boston fell victim to this yesterday. The example that was in the New York Times article was a malicious actor showing swastika tattoos. So the big thing being, use a password to protect yourself against that. We're going to go ahead and talk about scheduling. Scheduling a meeting, I'm encouraging you all to schedule as many meetings as possible ahead of time. It just serves for record keeping for you, and I'll get to this in a moment. But also configure the meeting settings. So the piece that I was just in was my entire account settings. What you can also do is configure any one meeting's settings. So this is the meeting we're all currently attending. You can see I've required a meeting password and that I've enabled you to join. I did not enable my students to join chapter prior to me. I also indicated mute upon entry because I knew that it was going to be a lot of direct instruction first, followed by allowing you to talk. So these are just some of the things. And if you've already scheduled it, you can also still edit it by clicking edit this meeting. Your list of meetings, just as a reminder, is under meetings. And I'll tackle any questions with that moving forward. One note, just one last thing. There is a different ID, a unique ID assigned to a recurring meeting, and it's not your personal meeting ID, PMI. I would highly, highly discourage using a recurring meeting when it comes to office hours. I know that's a bit more cumbersome, but a PMI is what we've given out to the admin team, to the students, to families, etc. But I highly would encourage you to password protect your meetings. And in meetings where you're worried about anything, allow only authenticated users if you start to get fearful of that Zoom bombing phenomenon. The other thing I'm going to try to show you here, I don't think I can because we're live, screen sharing, but there is a feature. If I hover over participants and hit more, I can actually lock the meeting once it starts so people can't join on the fly. So hosting a meeting. This video does a much better job than I could ever cover of talking about every God's blessed control that I've been referencing. It also allows you to lay the ground rules, like my ground rules out of the gate where I'm going to mute everybody. Please use the chat to ask questions. That's what I mean by determine the chat's purpose. Decide if you're going to record it or not, and tell people you're doing that. Use nonverbal feedback. That's something that I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing just so you can see and play around with this nonverbal feedback. I see a lot of green yeses. If anybody would love to indicate, should I go slower or faster moving forward? So you can see right next to yes and no is go slower and go faster. Good, Maria's saying go faster, I love it. A lot of people saying yes, awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and clear all those, and then we're going to get back to screen sharing and get moving. So, office hours. One thing I do want to encourage, I've gotten asked this question. I know I said it, but I know we were all worried about everything that goes into this pandemic. First off, before I get flying on this topic, I do want to just say a quick thank you. It's been a week and a half of something none of us want to do, none of us have been trained in, and none of us have expected to do, and you're all doing a phenomenal job. So I very much appreciate that. I know I speak not just for me, but for the entire administration when I say thank you. Office hours. One question I keep getting, or one issue I keep hearing is I feel tethered to the computer when running office hours. I hear you, I do too. What I'm encouraging you to do is turn your computer sound on so you can hear anybody coming into the room, and then click stop video and mute your sound. That way you can grade, you can eat, you can do whatever it is that you need to do. If, God willing, like me, you have to get up and go to the restroom during your office hours, just type in the chat, hey guys, I'll be right back. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I think that's totally fine. Breakout rooms. This is one of my favorite features, and I'm going to go ahead and try to experiment live with this here. A couple quick words about breakout rooms. Breakout rooms can be done on the spot as I'm about to, or can be preloaded. This link takes you to Zoom's website, walking you through that. Basically, you need to create a spreadsheet with the people in the rooms and then assign them to the rooms that you want them to. Hosts and co-hosts only are folks who can join different breakout rooms. We had fun with this in chapter today. Quinn and I are in the chapter together, and we broke the guys up. It really helped get the conversation started, but Mark and I then were able to pop in and out of different rooms as we saw fit. One thing I'd encourage is to set a time limit. So for our breakout room, I'm going to unmute everybody and allow a 2-minute breakout room to take place. Again, I want you to get a sense for how it feels. And then I'm going to call you back after 2 minutes. And you'll see, I'll get a chance to pop around. So I'm going to, again, go ahead and stop the share. I'm going to unmute everybody. That enables you to mute and unmute yourselves. And now I'm going to go ahead and put you in breakout rooms. What I'm going to say, I've got 24. I'm going to put you in the 6 different rooms. So there's about 4 per room. And it's going to automatically do that. Ready, set. This will be fun. Go.
Salesianum experience. Hi.
Hey, what's up? I'm just a fly on the wall. You guys do your thing.
Our digital rehearsals are going really well. That's
Right.
cool. Yeah, a lot of kids are showing up, and it's like not required, right? Because like we're not really doing like a real.
My house because I'm competitive.
Hey, boy.
Hey, Mike.
I'll just be a fly on the wall. You guys do your thing.
So, and I haven't done breakouts. I should have paid better attention to it. As the host, is it pretty easy to find?
Yes, it should be in the lower right of your control bar.
Okay, gotcha.
4 people.
We had a question for you, Mike. Question, Mike.
So how do you break everybody up? The
Did
computer.
you have a
automatically
spreadsheet?
do it?
I did not. I'm doing it random, on the fly.
Okay.
So you just hit on the fly and it automatically does it, breaks them up?
Yep, believe it or not, Dave, it paired you up with Doc Joe.
Yeah, how about that?
I mean, they're wonderful.
Good.
We actually had on our department yesterday said they were getting the quality of their work was actually improving.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's scary. You know, education might need to change.
Go figure.
Okay. Hi, Jen.
There we go.
Okay. Hi, Ted.
Okay.
Hey, Jack. Hi, Tom. Maria, Dave, Brian.
So one thing I just want to say is I appreciate everybody being flexible and also talking right away. It was awesome. I'm really tired from running in and out of all of your breakout rooms right now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. April Fools. I'm catching up on my dad jokes, trying to beef up my game. One thing I would mention is in the upper right of the video panel right here. I know most of us are equipped with this speaker view versus gallery view. Gallery view gives you that Brady Bunch view. Speaker view should only put on the big screen the person who is most active in talking.
Right.
So it's up to you completely. I'm advising do either thing. I tend to use gallery view quite frequently. I'm going to go ahead and pick back up with my presentation, muting everybody, and in hopes of finishing within the next 9 minutes so we can have some time to talk. So that was fun, breakout rooms. I think you got a chance to see, that was how I randomly assigned it. I told Zoom to pick and choose who gets paired with whom. These can be used for group work, for chapter, and so many other things. I just think this is a great untapped resource so far. The other thing I want to just kind of talk about is what I was doing during that time as the host. When I click breakout rooms, I get a list of all the rooms and I can click join any one room. And I've been just joining and then clicking a new room, joining another room. A great way to kind of rotate between the groups as the leader. So recording. We're big on asynchronous instruction. We looked at now upwards of 15 different schools close by, internationally, everywhere from here to Hong Kong, truly, literally, from here to a school in Hong Kong. We're using Zoom to provide, at a minimum, office hours and chapters and countless meetings, as you'll see moving forward. But one thing I think we haven't been tapping as much as we could is to deliver live instruction. This is a link to my intro video for this week's set of lessons, my 2 lessons, that I recorded in Zoom and posted to YouTube, which I'll get to in a minute, just to guide my guys through the logistics. It's 9 minutes. It's me talking them through while screen sharing. So it'll look a lot like this meeting's video. I'm essentially recording it to my computer and then going through the workflow I'm about to talk through. So we've never had to do this before. Now we're being asked to record our direct instruction, our teaching, the thing we feel most passionate about. This is the part where I really want to establish a baseline. There are a tremendous amount of ways to do all these things. Here are 2 that seem logical and make sense with the tools that we have. The first is QuickTime. QuickTime is a built-in tool within all of our computers. And if you just hold Command and hit space on your computer, it'll bring up a general search bar. Type in QuickTime. You have 2 options when you go to File. You actually have 3, but 2 video-based options. One is to record a movie, which is an outward-facing camera, a camera capturing you. And then the other is an inward-facing camera to record the screen, like what I'm doing here. The iPad has these tools as well. It's called Screen Recorder. It's in Settings. We know about camera roll. Many of us take pictures of our kids and things like that. And then a more robust option we all have is iMovie. Also, just like I mentioned, use Zoom. The process for that's right here. Start a meeting, hit record, and use all the tools that Zoom gives you. So once you have that video, again, the parameters, it's really tough to say. It's an art form, it's not a science. But try to get around that sweet spot of 15 minutes. And that 15-minute video or multiple shorter videos, pop that up. The most reliable, admittedly, in this pandemic has been YouTube. YouTube's been doing this for many, many years at this point. We all actually have this based on our Salesianum accounts. So sign in with your email address, your Google credentials. Go to Creator Studio, upload a video, build out playlists. This is something I'm trying to do more of. So build out playlists for each class or each topic, your units, and then embed or add links to either the video or playlist into On Campus. YouTube allows you to embed, Drive does not. We're all familiar with uploading to Drive, so I'm not going to kind of highlight that. There are countless tools to add and spice up your videos. These are the ones that have risen to the top. I'll give Becca one more shout out. She's been embedding YouTube videos into Google Forms to test her students' understanding. Colby Klein's a big Screencastify guy. Sutherland and countless others are using Edpuzzle. The entire world language department is rocking some Flipgrid. I'm a big TED Ed proponent. This allows you to do multiple choice among other things. As well as many teachers have been using on-campus discussions. That's effectively the end of my slideshow. I'm going to stop sharing and unmute everybody and hopefully take questions. All right. I'd love to hear questions. Maria.
So I recorded my first Zoom meeting today with my AP guys, and I did the record to cloud thing, and it emails you when the video is done rendering, and then you get 2 options. You can look at it like with your own like host link, or you have a link that you can share to other people. I didn't see that on your because you said you could do it with Google Drive, or you could do it with YouTube. Can we do that cloud thing, or is that glitchy?
So there's 2 things there's 3 things I wasn't saying. One is that for all of our accounts collectively, we get only 10 gigabits of cloud storage. So if we all start recording to the cloud, I'm going to have to turn that off, to be honest with you, because we're going to run out pretty quickly.
Okay. Good to know.
Secondly, what we've been noticing, and I think Jude's on here somewhere, so feel free to chime into this. Hey, Jude. Is parents have been saying, you know, one of the big features of video is we can pause it, right? When we upload videos directly to on campus, that's on campus's problem. It takes away the ability to have in-video controls. And then the third problem I've been hearing from all of you is the incredibly slow upload times. That's Google Drive's problem. And to be honest, all of these things are based on the economies of scale right now. None of these tools are foolproof and were built for a pandemic. So I tend to go with like the top video platform of YouTube. You can always, if we're worried about privacy and searchability, unlist the video. That's the biggest helpful hint I've been giving teachers. Unlist is just like saying anyone with the link can view.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only concern about YouTube, was just I don't really want to
I hear you.
on the internet.
But how cool would it be if kids started following you, right? Other questions? Feel free to unmute and
Hi,
chime
Mike.
in.
Mike, I have a question. Hi.
Yeah, Iris?
Yes. One student keep emailing me saying the on-campus submission didn't work for him, and then for all his subjects. So I sent him instruction, you know, from the resource, and then he still cannot figure that out. I said, I have a meeting this afternoon. I will ask, is there any way he can reach you, or you have like a Zoom troubleshooting setting scheduled for students?
Here's what great question. Excellent question. And it's one that I've been asked like 25 times. Eleazar is running office hours 10 to 12 daily for students. Please direct any tech troubleshooting with students to those office hours, or have them email him directly.
So could you repeat again? So email.
Eleazar is
Okay.
holding office hours Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. And outside of those hours,
Okay.
It's quite reasonable that they would have a question that doesn't fit within the 2-hour window.
Okay.
Have them email him directly. He's handling all student troubleshooting. The biggest reason is, and thank you for reminding me to say this, I'm going to make myself only available to faculty and staff. That's I can't possibly, if I could divide myself in 3, maybe I could help with the students. But every Wednesday at 2 p.m., I'm going to be available ad hoc to drop in for you and only you to talk teaching.
Mhm.
Michael, how would they, besides email, how would they get into that office hours for Eleazar?
His Zoom credentials, Jack, great question. His Zoom credentials are posted to their bulletin board, their resource board for virtual Salesianum. Feel free to copy any of this text over to your own board.
Okay, can you say that again, Mike? I didn't hear.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share it because I think this is a common question we all have. So there's 2 things. There's this right here that can be copied and pasted. This is from the virtual Salesianum resource board. The other thing is this right here, this technology piece.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Number
Thank you.
3 is what we're talking about for students.
Good.
All right, I saw Tom's hand popped up.
No, I just that I didn't know everyone knew Eleazar's last name was Perez.
Perez, yep.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Dennis, what's up?
Hey, Mike, on the breakout rooms, is there any way to monitor, for the teacher to monitor all the rooms at one time, or just one room at a time?
Yes, there is, but it's a bit weird and cumbersome, and I don't even trust myself with that. Basically, it just bounces between rooms.
I see. Okay.
I'm not as comfortable with that. I would say if you're uncomfortable with putting kids in breakouts, don't put them in breakouts at all.
Thank you.
Mike, I have another question.
Yep, what's up?
Can I see all the students share the screen at the same time, or I can only see one at a time?
So that's a setting within your personal settings. You can allow them to share screens, but this isn't LAN school. So what I mean by that is it's meant for one at a time screen sharing.
Okay, okay.
Whereas Land School would be the product,
Mhm.
or Apple Classroom, where you can see everybody's screen.
Do you think Zoom has a built-in function to allow students to serve as a proctor or hire a Zoom proctor, like a video camera? Like I know AP exam committee, they're gonna do that, so they can monitor their exam session or like assessments through Zoom session.
Yeah, good question. We're getting a lot of questions this week, obviously, about assessments and ways to give those. That's something the academic team, I think, Jude, we meet again tomorrow at 9. I'm sure we'll be discussing that and putting out more parameters. I would caution against, just because we know our guys, I would caution against doing a Zoom test like that and trying to monitor through a technology that we're not very familiar with.
Okay, thank you.
Ellen.
I'm trying to put together, Mike, the idea of make sure you use your personal ID through Zoom rather than and then putting that together with Dan Jackman's thing about always send out an invitation. Now, I've been copying and pasting the invitation from the scheduled Zoom meeting. That's not the same, you know what I mean? Like, so how do I put that all together? Would it be better if I simply sent them an invitation in my own writing and said, click on my ID number, since they seem to have it? You say they have them all? So
to me, a couple things I want to clear up. I'm mainly holding up the 3 so I keep my mind in order. First, I'm mostly talking about academics. I'll let Dan speak to chapter. I think Dan's bigger concern was not every staff member who's paired with the teachers has access to the resource board.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the third thing, see, this is why I hold my hands up. I actually forgot the third thing. I'm sure it'll come back.
But that helps me understand why I've had a couple of kids. I didn't realize they had our personal numbers. I had a couple kids contact me via Zoom when I wasn't even having office hours, which was great. You know, my little thing chimed in and I was like, oh, gee, hi. You know, so it was a nice surprise.
Yep. Kim Kogenauer, then Iris, then Creighton.
I was just curious. I wonder how the kids have the Zoom. Oh, they have it from your page. Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Kim. That was the bigger reminder. So, yeah. Ellen, the third thing I wanted to clear up is that list of Zoom office hours for everybody is not in the student's possession.
Oh, okay.
Nor are we intending it to be. That would be a nightmare for all of us. We honestly, that's more for internal use.
Gotcha.
And so what we're asking of you is to post your meeting ID to your bulletin boards, right? I believe Iris is next.
Yes. I have some students like stop by in my Zoom session. So when I talk to them 1-to-1 or 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 at the same time, I usually type in the chat box. I use chat box as my note box. So I told them every time you leave, make sure you copy and paste something relevant to you. But I try to type like Alizar's email. It seems like I cannot copy that, from the chat box. Do you think students can copy any information from the chat box and save it later to their own notes?
So admittedly, that's a setting within personal settings.
Okay.
If you have the 3 dots that are right next to where it says to everyone, and you click it, you should be able to save it. I might have disabled that, to be honest with you. That would be something, if you want to use it that way, to enable it. I know we use that for our academic team to keep a list of like what we have to do, and then we save the chat. To be quite honest, I haven't really gone back to any of those saved chats because I'm so used to using the Google Suite.
Because I think the students need that, because I request students to take notes. I think I usually put notes in the chat box. That's why I ask them to save that or revise that or personalize that.
Sure, feel free to turn that on. This is what I mean by you customize it to fit your instructional needs. I was just doing baseline level administrative settings, like turning on breakout rooms and turning on nonverbal feedback, which is that yes, no, go slow, go fast.
Okay.
Creighton.
Hey, thanks, Mike. This has been absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
My question's around if I'm sitting at my computer, I don't get too many people Zooming with me thus far, and I get some teachers who are curious about collaborating, and I'm kind of like stuck. I'm kind of thinking, is there a way I could put a little note and tell the current students like, hey, I'll be back, but then if I shut down Zoom, is that gone? Because I don't know if I can run Zoom with two different things if I'm hosting and being a participant.
So I want to address two things in that question. That's an awesome question and something I've had trouble with, to be honest with you, balancing my office hour time plus my admin time and my tech time. No, you can't host two, or you can't have two simultaneous Zooms running at once. To answer that question. The second thing I want to say is what we really want to encourage is you to Zoom with one another, drop into each other's office hours. So that's a bit of logistics trying to figure that out, right? If you and Dave Locke both have hours at the same time, it's going to inevitably require one to hop in the other's meeting. I think we're just asking everybody to make their best effort, as you've been already. And then the one thing I want to just bring up, unrelated to Creighton, but it popped in my head. What I didn't tackle in that slideshow was the use of waiting rooms. Waiting rooms are basically just like a doctor's office, right? One in, one out. I'm strongly discouraging using waiting rooms. The biggest thing being we want the kids to be able to be social, be collaborative. With the exception of certain staff offices who might want to respect privacy, I think there's more benefit to having people together rather than separating them. The biggest thing is administratively, we've received a couple emails from families saying their student was waiting in a waiting room for 75 minutes. Yep. I know we're all trying our best, but I think that's where I lean toward, let's just do the stop video and mute our sound and go to work rather than having a waiting room. Let the kid come in so you see which student it is, and then turn your video on, turn your audio on, and address their questions. Iris.
Oh yes. Speaking of the waiting room, because when I wrote my protocol for the Zoom session for Chinese class students, I said clearly, I will usually admit you at the same time, but I said waiting room. The only way I will not allow you to in because there's someone in front of before you. I am conducting like an oral test with them, but it will only last for 5 minutes. So I will let him leave the room and admit another one.
Right. I think as long as we're all clear about the intent, I just want you all to know what that feature does. Yeah. It basically parks them in a white screen that says you are currently in Dr. Reichert's waiting room. He will be with you shortly. It's literally your call is important to us. Mm-hmm. I think you need to just preface that with an email of, hey, today's office hours are on a waiting room basis. Here's why. Just being upfront and proactive with the communication, mm-hmm. I think that would go a long way to everybody's at high anxiety right now. So mm-hmm. anything we can do to kind of bring that down a notch would be excellent. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? We have about 4 minutes. I promised everyone I'd give you a Zoom break before Brendan and Chris. Dennis, what's up?
Hey, Mike. A few minutes ago, you focused on live instruction, talked about quick time. Can you talk to me about the Zoom abilities? You said to you can push start meeting, record, and share screen.
Yep.
Is that more like direct instruction, or can that tie together an assignment or a lesson that you're putting out to kids? How does that work again?
That's an excellent question. So I'll just talk about kind of my process with that feature. So every Sunday afternoon, right, once I've planned out kind of lesson 1's going to be this, lesson 2's going to be this, I'll post everything on campus, and then I'll fire up Zoom and go through those steps. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a logistical walkthrough for my guys. And that's what I've linked to those slides, is it's just me talking to them about, all right, guys, here's today, or this week, I'll talk for my class. Today, we're looking at why did America get involved in World War I? What we're going to do during lesson 1 is we're going to explore the general causes, followed by in lesson 2. And it's me talking, right? The camera's pointed at me. And then when I hit share screen, I'm navigating on campus and talking about where to find everything. Does that make sense?
And then how do they see, I don't know, how do they see that? How do they?
So that's where that next slide becomes important in my presentation. That video gets pulled onto my computer, and then I post that to YouTube, and I put the link to the YouTube in on campus. That's the stuff I'd love to walk people through. My office is on standby for all of these kind of, if it's your first time, please let us help walk you through that.
Yes, I think I would probably need that. Thank you.
Dennis, on my screen, you've got an expert to your right. Dr. Joe, I'm sure, will be happily able to assist.
Teacher of the year.
Ellen.
Hey, Mike, if you do that, I love your idea. If I do that and make my playlist and then walk the guys through it and all that, my question to you is, can I take that YouTube video, embed it? And if I embed it, will they have the pause feature?
Yes. Yeah, cool. So when you embed YouTube or Drive for that matter, the kids get all that, what's called in-video controls, right?
Beautiful.
Rewind, fast forward, pause. A bit of logistics. I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to stay on, and I'm going to let people drop off as they want.